who was with him and his two brothers telling me stories of how they had eaten people. And so it was an extraordinary journey living with these people. I'd had such a shift in my awareness that when I came then to go and live with tribal people for the BBC, it was obvious to me, don't go in thinking you know anything. And I had been pretty much everywhere. It was hard for me to be shocked anymore. I'd seen a lot, you know. I'm like, what the hell? What? I thought I'd seen it all. Why didn't I know about this? And why doesn't anyone else know about this?
And why didn't we, you think?
Because it's a brand new discovery that's happening in anthropology now, and it's accepted in anthropology, but it's not known in the high street.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are here at TenClub in Amsterdam. And TenClub is a society for the curious. And today we will be doing our first interview with one of the speakers of an event that we are hosting here monthly. It's called Imagine Tomorrow. And in this series, we invite speakers from different walks of life to share their dream of the most beautiful world with us. This can be a dream with no boundaries, because we believe if we start dreaming more, there will be endless of opportunities for the world. So today I have next to me our speaker of tonight. His name is Bruce Parry. He just traveled 14 hours by train to come here to us in Amsterdam. Thank you so much for coming. We're really excited to have you here tonight and to listen to your dream. So for the viewers at home, Bruce is a documentary maker, he's an author, he's a defender of indigenous rights, an explorer. I think the list is endless. You had a really interesting life, right? You visited all of these indigenous communities and seen their way of living, even lived with them yourself, hunting with them. I mean, what was it like to experience all these different ways of living?
Hey.
What a question, huh?
There you go, straight in. Well, you know, firstly, what a privilege. Well, firstly, lovely to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited about this evening. And to answer that specific question, I mean, of course, to have the opportunity to go and live in the homes of people who live lives so different to our own is just such a gift and a joy and an opportunity to not only experience another way of living, but also to reflect on your own way of living. And I had the opportunity to do that in so many places around the world that it really built up an extraordinary picture of who we are as a species and the types of societies that we can create and the types of opportunities and the types of problems that we have and some of the solutions that are out there.
Wow. So can you maybe take us into one of the moments, a really funny moment?
Funny moment? Yes. How funny do you want?
Well, funny like peeing your pants funny.
If you want to go straight into the peeing your pants, I mean, there is a relatively famous moment that was where I had this dear guy called Bofo Kro, who I was living with in a treehouse in New Guinea, who was with him and his two brothers telling me stories of how they had eaten people and stuff. And so it was an extraordinary journey living with these people. And this guy, Bofo Kro, was kind of a little bit in love with me. And he really wanted me to be more like them. So there was this quite famous moment where he whips down my pants and gets my penis and tries to push it back inside my body, which is what they do. And it was kind of a little bit of a what's going on here moment, especially as the guy was so lovely and he was like, it was quite a moment. And
did it hurt?
Didn't hurt, but I nearly fainted. Yeah, I had to lie down and like all the blood rushed from my head. It's like, it was a thing. It was a thing.
So what happened after that?
I had to literally, then after that, they couldn't push it back in because it just wasn't happening. So they just wrapped a leaf around it. And they all walk around with like a penis gourd, a koteka on the top of it. I don't know why that came to mind. I think it's because you said pee or pants. But there's so many amazing moments. I just had the most extraordinary opportunity to engage with these people. And they really loved it when I would sort of don their clothing and join in and eat their food and do their ceremonies and often do their rites of passage, take their plant medicines, whatever it was, just a bit of everything.
Yeah, because it's interesting. I think this laughing, it's something we all do, having a fun moment together. Is that how you...
I mean, for sure, some of the some of my favorite moments were they were basically you teasing me, getting me to repeat words I had no idea what I was saying, or everyone in hysterics while I try and repeat their language, and later finding out that I was inviting myself to have sex with all the people in the community or whatever it was, but I don't know, I'm just repeating it, and everyone in hysterics, because of course I'm mispelling and not misspelling, mispronouncing things, and it's just, just the hilarity of being with people who are just living in this other way, and they're so communal, they all know each other so well, there's such freedom of expression within their society, and then to be able to be a part of that for a short while, so special.
Wow. When you describe this, actually also we are all the same, because I think we as Dutch people, what we teach our visiting friends is neuken in de keuken, which means like fucking in the kitchen, and we laugh when they say it as well. So it's a bit the same, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, how cool.
So maybe to take a step back, before you had all these experiences, what was how do you become what you have become? Like, what was your childhood like?
Yeah, so I grew up in a very institutional life. I'm British, English. I grew up in a military family. I got sent to a boarding school really young. It's like very Christian, very sort of royalist kind of English family that got all their information from the television and the normal media and stuff. So very institutionalized. Yeah. And even I myself joined the military when I was young. Didn't question it, went straight in to join the Royal Marines. And then, so by my mid-20s, I had left the Marines. And then just through a series mostly of wonderful girlfriends who had the foresight and the patience to be able to question me, and because I was in love enough to go through that kind of investigation, just like, why are you doing this? Why do you think like that? Why do you think that? And so that started me on a journey of questioning, and then a few big moments of my life that really woke me up to, oh my God, who am I, and what's this all about? And that sort of just started my journey of self-discovery, I guess, and inner investigation.
So thanks to the ladies.
Always.
That's
always,
nice.
Yeah, always.
And we are here because you're going to share your dream tonight. As a child, what did you dream of? Did you have big dreams when you were?
Yeah, I mean, as a child, I was I was always very physical, and so I just wanted to prove myself to the world. It's why I joined the Marines in a way. It's like a tough thing to become a commando. And like my first foray into the film industry was, or into television, let's say, was to go and climb a mountain in New Guinea that no one's ever heard of, that no humans ever walked into this area. So it's just like to be the first, to meet tribes that no one's ever met. It was all kind of a bit of an ego drive, actually. It's a bit of a young male drive to be seen, probably just because I'm so short or something. I don't know. It's just like, how do I prove to the world that I'm this man, And that was a big part of why I joined the Marines and why I got into expeditions. And then only later, again, probably due to having amazing people around me, especially girlfriends, and asking me to question that, and then also achieving some of those things, and realizing that the world is much more complex than that. And like some of these places I'm going to, the people are struggling, and some of those struggles are as a result of the way I live my life back home, and everything's interconnected. And so for me to just carry on this sort of like male quest to prove myself is just felt a little bit selfish after a while. It's like, wait, well, I've done that now. That's cool. How can I give back? What am I actually learning? Or am I just passing through these places and holding on and maintaining my existing preconceptions? Or am I going to actually listen to some of these things that I'm connecting with along the way? And only through listening do you begin to go, oh, actually, I'm not as cool as I thought. My society is not as cool as I thought. My way of living, my beliefs in science, or all these other things, they're only half the story, and there's a whole other way. And guess who's trashing the world more? It's not them, So who am I to come in with my preconceptions and my judgments and thinking I've got it all so right, when actually me and my society are the one that's bringing the whole thing down? So that sort of became a bit of a journey.
That was a big awakening.
It was a big awakening.
But so you say that this adventurous side of you, it has always been there. I guess maybe I'm making assumptions, but this is a bit in your teenage years, your dreams.
So it disappeared after I started actually learning and listening, and it started out with this adventure, and then it's transitioned into more exploration and in a mental and physical and emotional and spiritual way, rather than just climb the mountain and conquer the world, which is the sort of like British weird ass British explorer way. It became more of a spiritual and philosophical and sociological kind of exploration.
Can we say it went from going outside to maybe going inside?
For sure.
And as a younger kid, because I'm also curious to young Bruce, what were you dreaming about?
Yeah, dreaming about those things, to go to be the first person to climb the pole.
Really, I've
always wanted. I've always wanted to go. I used to just read books about explorers, going, "Oh my God, this sounds impossible. How can a human being physically drag a sledge all the way to the South Pole?" It's like, what? I wasn't even asking why would you do it. I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. Which is a weird thing, because I've done that now, and it is cool, and it is amazing to push yourself physically to the limits. But it's not giving back necessarily. It still felt like the conquering energy, planting the flag on top of the mountain. I mean, what is that about? It's so weird. But that was how it started, and then it transitioned more into like, what's the flora and fauna here? Who are the people here? What's my effect? What's my impact? What's the relationship between me being here and you and my life? So it just transitioned through maturity and wisdom and conversation.
Wow! So while I was playing with Barbies, you were already dreaming about how to conquer mountains.
Yeah, I hate that word conquer, but I guess that was part of my childhood. Yeah.
But can we say then that once you had it all, those dreams changed? Do you remember the moment that flipped?
Well, actually, a big moment for me was when I did my first ever mushroom trip. Good place to talk about that here in Amsterdam. I mean, I grew up, again, very traditional, very institutional. I remember my mum saying to me when I was very young, if you ever do a drug, I'll disown you. And so it was very powerful. And I grew up in a family that just didn't even think or talk about any of those things. It was so far away, and I had very strong prejudice and preconceptions.
Did you feel any guilt when you did it then for the first time?
It took me. Firstly, I had to be very, very in love, and to trust someone to do this thing that I had such a negative views on.
So you had this voice in your head telling you it was bad.
Well, up until then, but the voice became the stronger voice, which is someone I love who's lying in bed saying, "Don't worry, I can hold you." So the voice shifted. But up until then, if I'd seen someone smoke a blunt, I'd have called police. That was my marine mind.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so it took many years for that to be broken down. And then I did my first mushroom experience out in Indonesia in the Trigili Islands, and it totally turned everything on its head.
What happened?
It wasn't a great trip. We had my dear sweet girlfriend at the time hadn't ever taken anyone who was so I was in my mid-20s, and I'd already been an officer in the Royal Marines. I'd already led loads of expeditions, like super confident, thought I knew who I was, super fit and charismatic, kind of confident dude. And then this thing just turns me upside down and spits me out. And I was also quite Christian at the time, and it's like, I don't know, none of this makes sense. You got to completely reevaluate everything you thought you knew. And so there was that. And then also she didn't tell me one of the basic things that everyone needs to know on their first experience.
So listen carefully.
It's don't worry, it's only going to last a few hours and you're going to come back afterwards. It's like you are. Yes. But I didn't know that. So I was like, oh my God, this is the new me. I've changed forever. It's like, what the fuck? I don't like it. Can I have my old self back? And then we had a whole bunch of different things went on where I thought I was helping her, but actually I was making her spin further and further down into the depths of. It was a proper trip. I remember walking down this path in the woods. And at one point I stop and my arm is like 10 foot long and she's right up there and I'm in a hole and I'm like, how did I get down here? And what are you doing up there? I mean, literally, I've done a lot of mushrooms since then. I've done like a lot of mushrooms. But to have that level of like a proper, I wouldn't call it hallucination, but like or whatever the word is, where I'm basically, the reality shifted so much that I thought that she was a tiny little dot there, my arm was that long. And then getting through that and seeing pixies and beings everywhere. I mean, it was a proper dose. I got properly dosed the first time. But it totally, what it did more than anything, which was the greatest blessing, was it wasn't just what I saw during the experience. It was more that it broke the back on like this line that I'd drawn, which is like tobacco and alcohol, okay, and everything else just bad and evil and negative. It's like, oh, actually, no. They're all different. They've all got their pros and cons. These ones have government-sanctioned tax monies, whatever, and these ones don't. And so we've labelled them as bad and illegal. But actually, what I've since learned, of course, and we'll talk about later, is that some of these things are extraordinarily healing, extraordinarily beautiful, and vital, actually, I think, especially some of the plant medicines that come in the shape of mushrooms or vines or tree roots or saps. There's like real medicines that we need in society so desperately, because they're the things that bring us back into connection and remind us of who we are in relation to the universe and to each other and all this stuff. So I'm a fan now, but it took me a proper dose.
So it changed not only your dreams, but also your whole way of living.
Everything, yeah. Well, I mean, I would be lying if I said I changed my way of living the next day, but it started me, it's the first door that opened that started me on the journey of, okay, so I can't be Christian anymore. That doesn't add up. What am I? Who am I? What do I think? That I clearly had a spiritual awakening, but what was it? So that began me on a spiritual journey, but it also began me on a journey of beginning to connect with a whole swathe of society that previously I had a negative opinion of. I went back, we were living in Indonesia for a while, and then I came back to the UK and we started going to festivals. I'd never been to festivals. I always used to think hippies were just stinking, useless layabouts, and realized, oh my God, there's a thing called creativity, and they're amazing, and they're really bright, and they've got ethical codes, and they're like connected to the land, and they have like communities for bringing up their children. It's like, oh my God, this shit's amazing. And previously I used to be in my silo over here just going, I hate you, you don't do anything for society. And realizing so many of my preconceptions coming from a place of being really confident, thinking I knew it all, led expeditions, officer in the Marines, like trained to believe that I was amazing, and suddenly going, oh, I'm not that amazing. Actually, there's loads here that is that I need to rethink about, because I was wrong. I was wrong about so much. And what was really beautiful as a blessing for that was that when I then came later to do my TV shows, I'd had such a shift in my awareness that when I came then to go and live with tribal people for the BBC, it was obvious to me, don't go in thinking you know anything, because you've already had your whole world's preconceptions turned on their head once before. And this show is now going to be seen by millions, including people who know this subject matter much better than you. So don't go in there thinking you have a clue about anything. Why don't you go in and listen rather than think you know something? And that, as a result of those changes I'd had before, that recipe for listening rather than commenting was why those programs became a success. And it's also why I ended up learning so much, because when you do listen, there's something there, even though you think, oh, it's a cannibal, or, oh no, they're whipping, they're doing this, or they're doing that I have a negative view of. Actually, when you ask them why, you realize there's a much more nuanced reason, and there's a bigger picture, and that then you can also reflect on your own life and, well, we're doing something similar, but just in a different way. And all of these things, you're like, okay, wow. Only by being in someone else's home and being almost forced to hear what they have to say, and then genuinely listening and asking them questions, it's amazing how much you can be humbled about your previous views.
That's the word for it, huh? Humble.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that then change? Did it change the relationship with your parents? Can you take them into this new dream, this new journey?
It took me many years. It took me many years, actually. That was a big journey for me. I mean, I'm now in the most amazing place with my family and it's beautiful, but for many years I had two lives. One life was this new person that had awoken to these things, doing things that previously I knew my parents didn't like, no sex before marriage. It was like, came from very, very sort of Christian, Victorian almost kind of family. And so I was beginning to do these things that I knew they didn't like. So I kind of had these two worlds, and I would go back for Christmas, but I wasn't very. I was physically present, but I wasn't emotionally connecting.
What did it do with you? I see that it did something with you.
Well, what it did was I had these two worlds, but I realized after a period of time that many people would say to me, Bruce, you've got a problem with your family, you've got to figure this out. And I'm like, no, I don't. But in the end, I did. And I had this amazing journey where I brought my family out, my mum and dad out to come and live with me in Ibiza, where I was living at the time, and gave them a really beautiful holiday. And then finally went through the process of letting them know who I was now in a way that was like, listen, you know, I do. Firstly, I'm really sorry that I've been so distant for so many years, but you have to understand I found it difficult growing up, and I'm doing all these things now that I know you have opinions of, but I think I'm a good person, and this is who I am. And I didn't need anything from them. I didn't need them to apologize, or it's like. And also, of course, with that, I'd come to my own realization that they're doing the best they could, like nearly all parents are, and that they had their own journey beforehand, and that all of these things. And so that was just the fact that I had the courage finally, I mean, in my 30s or even 40s, I don't remember, to finally be able to look right out in the eye and go, this is who I am, and I do these things, and I'm okay. It took that long. But like now, it's amazing, and I have the most amazing relationship. And I don't have this two lives anymore. I'm like, I am me, and this is who I am, and I don't agree with lots of things, but that's okay, and I don't get triggered by them, and it's beautiful. It's amazing.
So they might not understand everything, but you accept each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you maybe, tonight you're going to share your dream.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that you can already talk about now for the audience that cannot be there tonight?
Yeah, sure.
But it's really curious about.
Well, I tell you what it is. I can't do it in a nutshell because it's quite a big dream. But ultimately, you know, having had this wonderful privilege of having lived with tribal people around the world, I thought I'd seen it all. I thought I had been to every type of society imaginable on the planet. And I had been pretty much everywhere, you know. It's like it was hard for me to be shocked anymore. I'd seen a lot, you know. And ultimately, I came to this sort of realization, or it wasn't a realization, it was a belief that humankind is kind of destined to cause the kind of disruptions that we're causing now. Because I was seeing in all of those societies, even though they have amazing wisdom, they have amazing nature connection, they have amazing community life, they have amazing spirit realm understanding, they have healing modalities, they have extraordinary ways to bring up your children, and a whole bunch of stuff that we can learn from massively. But at the end of the day, I also saw that they had many of the complexities that we have too. And I'm like, wow, okay, actually just we as a species are problematic, and they're just on the same conveyor belt as where we are, but just further back. And so we're just destined to be causing the mess that we're causing. So even though I learned so much, my sort of overall view was like that we're a problematic species. Until I met the last group that I met. And when I met them, I'm like, whoa, slow down. There's something completely different going on here. And I didn't understand it at first. And it took me a long time. And I'll talk about that a little bit this evening. But what ultimately happened was I finally came across a group that made me realize that all the other tribes I'd met, even though they looked ancient, naked, using stone tools in the forest, whatever, were in one way really modern. And that modern way is that they have all got into the game of power and hierarchy. They had chiefs, they had shamans, even the dudes using stone tools, and it's like all of them are. And this one group that I visited, the last group, didn't have any of that. And then I started realizing that this just wasn't a unique group, that there's any group that's still there in Africa and Southeast Asia that hasn't been affected by what they call the Neolithic Revolution, the domestication of plants and animals for food, sort of like agriculture and stuff. Any nomadic hunter-gatherer group still living in Africa and Southeast Asia all have the same traits. No hierarchy, no competition, no coercion, no ownership, these types of things. And they're the most peaceful people on the planet by a long way. And so I'm like, what the hell? What? I thought I'd seen it all. Why didn't I know about this? And why doesn't anyone else know about this?
And why didn't we, you think?
Because it's a brand new discovery that's happening in anthropology now, and it's accepted in anthropology, but it's not known in the high street. So that I'm trying to talk about it. I'm trying to raise money to make a film. I want to get this message out because not only is it a vital bit of information, but also there are, what I've spent the last 10 years doing is like trying to figure out, is this just a time gone by that there's no turning back the clock, this is the genie's out of the bottle, you'll never get it back in? Or are there tools, narratives, methodologies, ways that we can learn from, are these people using tools, narratives, methodologies that we can transpose to today? And if so, what are they? And how did this thing come about in the first place? As if we came from other apes that are all hierarchical and aggressive, why did we become egalitarian? And then why did it change? And those three things, like where did it come from? Where did it go? And how did they maintain it for like 180,000 years in some cases? Like the vast majority of our time as a species, 95% of our time as a species on this planet was in this way of being. It's by far our most resilient way. We clearly can do it. We've gone on this tangent now for the last 10,000 years into power and hierarchy again, but we're so powerful, we're running the risk of like destroying everything. Here's this thing that worked. And guess what? Now, right now, for the first time ever in history, we have the tools, the understanding and the methodology for bringing it back if we want it. But the first way to do that is to know about it.
So in your dream, we are all living like this. It's already happened. What does the world look like?
You'll have to wait and see. But like having lived with people who are living in this space, the most free, the most happy, and and I've got to be careful because when I say these things and people go, I sound like a romantic fool. But I am not. I am not a romantic about tribal people. I've seen some very difficult things. I've seen warfare and destruction of the environment. I've seen women being whipped. I've seen female circumcision. I've seen cannibalism. I've seen a lot of stuff that I'm not like waving a flag going, all tribes are amazing. That's not what I'm saying. But I've seen something and I've understood it and I've spent a lot of time researching it and trying to figure it out. And that is amazing. Yeah, so those people, it's basically everything that we are moving towards, they're going in the opposite direction, but they're happier, they're more free, they're more themselves. There's no one telling anyone what to do. You are, from the moment you can walk, you're a fully functioning, free member of society that has as much say as the oldest elder. Doesn't matter. You are fully you. And it's just hard to even get your head around how empowering that is.
Wow.
It's off the charts. Like almost every minute of the day in our societies, oh, you can't do that. Someone's telling you, you must do this. It's like, imagine the real freedom that you can have. But what's really crazy is that because in our society, we want freedom, that freedom is pushing back against something, but they've got nothing to push back against. So for them, freedom is, oh, I choose to put the group first because my life is so good that let's keep this show on the road. It's like we can't even get our heads around how amazing it is to live like that. It's like unbelievable. And when I go and visit them, you just feel like this tightly knotted, balled up European is like, I can't quite express myself because there they are just going, bah, this is me. But without anyone having any more status or power or reward or anything, that everyone is equal. But what we have in our society is we get confused between equality and sameness. But they're like, no. We're not the same. We're all different and we all have different qualities, but no one gets any more for it. We all have the same status. We all have the same say. We all have the same power, but we're all different. The men and the women are different. The individuals are different, but no one gets any more. And it's the play between these forces that keeps the energy flowing. It's unbelievable.
Now we have a certain structure. How do you want the structures in your dream world? What would you like to see?
Well, I think that, what's really interesting is that these are just principles. And I have pages of ideas of how we can bring those principles about. And especially today using technology for us to decentralize the power from the central places, to re-empower individuals so that they can step into their authority, so they can grow with wisdom into being re-empowered. How that then means that we move forwards as a species, if this was to happen, will depend on how much wounding we're carrying, what the healing modalities are that we can allow us to go through this, what the repercussions are of releasing power back out into the group. It's like it's an unknown quantity what will end up happening. And then it comes down to a philosophical point. It's like some people think that power should stay in the center because they're better at organizing things, but to my mind, it's not working. It's corrupted. It's a disaster. We need to disseminate. But what will happen as a result of that will be our karma waking up and figuring it out. It's like we've got a big journey ahead of us. But I just genuinely believe that is the direction that is at the heart of everything I've learned. And it needs to be a book really, but like so much of the stresses and violences and wounding and disease in our society is as a result of inequality, much more than it is as a result of poverty. They're social-based issues because we feel, it's about how we feel. The stresses of life. The stresses of life are because life's unfair, it seems, because it's all wrapped up and the powerful all power. It's like all of that directly feeds into how we are as a species. So we need to change the game.
So we have a big journey ahead of us.
Let's hope.
What is the first thing, the people that are looking at home, what's the first thing we can do tomorrow to get to your dream world? Believe it, know it to be the case. Start reimagining your own life, not through this lens of meritocracy that we have now, whereby, if I do more, then I deserve more, where we're all on this status game. It's like, just believe that we are better as equals. Not the same, but equals. And equals say equals. So just that is the very beginning. Start going on the inner journey. Start feeling. Start empathizing. I could start listing as well, but we need to share more, let go more, and we need to know that there's another world that's out there that's better, and we are all going to be better off for it. This isn't a revolution of guillotines and hating. This is a revolution of we're all in this game, and it's working well for some and not so well for others, but we need to change. We need to hate the game, not the people in it, because we're just all doing the best we can in it. And some people, succeeding, and they might not be very sweet at sharing, but that's the game. Don't hate the game. Don't hate the people. Hate the game, not hate. Desire to change the game. Know that there's a better way. There is a better way. That gives a lot of hope. Yeah, thank you. So thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to your dream tonight. And if you want to be part of this dream, every month we are hosting an Imagine Tomorrow. Check out our website and we hope to see you there soon.